That is such a beautiful berry blush shade. Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. It's been a minute, a good minute, but I'm back better than ever, and we are doing a review. Today I'm reviewing the YSL Golden Oasis limited edition face blush palette. First of all, YSL just does the most stunning packaging. A moment for the packaging, please. Love me some YSL, you guys. I love it. This palette retails for $85, and it is a really good value given that the full-size blushes are $46. The full-size blushes are 5 grams, and you get 6 pans in this palette, and they are 4.5 grams each, so that is a steal. If you do the girl math, that's technically $14.16 per pan, which is a great value. Really excited to try this palette because I've never tried YSL's blushes, only because they are $46. Like, that's pretty steep for one blush. But I do have the YSL bronzer, and I love the formula for that, so I do have high hopes for this face palette. And my palette looks kind of beat up already because I have been using this. I wanted to give you guys a thorough review and not an initial review, because sometimes you can feel differently about things once you actually use them throughout the day. Let's get into the swatches. We're gonna make our way down through the rows like this. These are existing blush shades, so I will put the name of the blushes on the screen. And this shade is a really pretty peachy coral with a gold reflect. These blushes, they do apply, in my opinion, a bit sheer, but they are buildable. I kind of like that they're sheer because I think that they make really great blush toppers. That's how I prefer to use it, over a liquid or cream blush. Also, the fallout is kind of crazy. Like, these are a bit powdery. You are going to get some kickback when you put your brush in the pan. So I can definitely see myself hitting pan on these blushes just because of that factor alone. I love a glowy blush, but it has to be done the right way. Glowy blushes can be a hit or miss. So that is the first shade. I think that's so pretty, and it has enough glow to it that you really don't need to add a highlighter, but for the sake of this video, we're going to add the highlighter next to it on the high points of my cheeks. One thing that I noticed with these highlighter powders is that they do apply better when wet, so I'm just going to add a little bit setting spray to my brush, just a little bit. Formula for these blushes, they're a little bit more on the powdery side, so I think when you apply it wet, it just looks more flattering. I don't think we can save this. We can save this, actually. I can do this. What I should have done, instead of going straight in with the setting spray and then the face, is rubbing it on the back of my hand, because this formula is so pigmented, you guys. I just went straight in and now I have a highlighter patch, but we're gonna fix this. That looks crazy. Just going back over that highlighter with the blush. So that's the highlighter shade. There is a slight bit of patchiness that you can see when I look to the side, but that's because of how I applied it. I swear when I applied it yesterday wet, it applied just fine. So I think it was just my application. The technique was not it. Use it wet with discretion, and yeah, just don't go heavy on the setting spray like I did. Now I'm gonna go in with the second row, starting with this blush shade, and then I'm gonna use the highlighter to top it off. I can tell you guys right now, the blush shade on its own is not my favorite because it does have a silver reflect in it, and I'm a black girl. Gold highlighter, yes. White gold, yes. I could get away with the champagne, but silver highlighter on my face, it's not really the vibe. But the pink highlighter saves it. This is not your everyday highlighter. This is very glittery, like a going out highlighter. Maybe you want to go to a rave or a club and you want your highlighter to be seen from down the block. This is that highlighter. There's nothing necessarily wrong with a blinding highlighter. Its particles in this highlighter are a lot bigger, so it's kind of chunky. Okay, so this is the pink blush. And by no means does it look bad. I'm not a fan of the reflect inside the blush, but the actual blush is pretty. It's something about the formula for this blush. I'm pretty sure it's the same formula, but it is not as flattering on me, formula wise, as the coral. Personally, the pink blush applies a bit more powdery than the coral shade, to which I don't really prefer. It's a pretty shade, just not something that I would usually gravitate towards. This highlighter shade does a really good job at kind of neutralizing the silver and this blush, so it kind of saves it, but at the same time it makes it not a very everyday wearable kind of pink blush combo. I am a full glam girly, so I don't mind some glitter on the cheeks. I don't mind shining from down the block, but I know it's not for everyone. I'm just doing a close-up so you guys can see how these blushes and highlighters look. And like I said, the highlighter didn't apply the best just because of the way that I applied it, but from the previous times that I used it, it does apply a lot smoother than what it did today. This is the pink. The last blush shade is this beautiful berry, and here's the thing, I'm not a berry blush kind of girl, so when I saw this I was like, I know that's going to be the blush that I reach for the least amount. But somehow, some way, YSL figured out how to make a berry blush that actually makes me look like I didn't get punched in the face. It's really pigmented, so I'm just going to tap some on the back of my hand before I go in. I think there's a slight bit of shimmer popping up on the skin. I honestly think that's like the pink highlighter that got mixed in the berry blush because there's so much fallout from that highlighter. Honestly, the only formula that doesn't have crazy fallout is the matte, and then I'd say like this deeper highlighter. Those are the only two that don't have crazy fallout. That is such a beautiful berry blush shade. Like, when I tell you guys, I'm so excited because I've never been able to do berry blush, cranberry blush, any kind of berry blush. It just does not look good. It looks clownish on me, but this one is absolutely perfect, and I'm gagged because I get to be a part of the club and wear berry blush now. Thank you, YSL. Like, thank you. This is really, really beautiful. I just can't believe there's a berry blush shade in the world that actually looks good on me. I'm just applying the slightest amount of pink powder under the eye. I personally can't do a berry blush without a pink under eye. Like, having a yellow or even just like a neutral powder and then having a deep berry blush, it doesn't look cohesive to me. So I'm just adding a little bit of pink. Just so that I can blend into the skin more. Lastly, we have this very bronzy, very deep golden highlighter, but I think this might be a little bit too deep for me. Like, if I mix it with the lighter highlighter, I could pull it off, but by itself, I think it's going to be too deep for me. But I did see people using this as a bronzer. I already have bronzer on though, so I'm going to use it as a bronzer topper. And actually, I'm going to mix it in with my YSL bronzer. So what I like to do is take a little bit of my bronzer and just tap my brush into the pan, and then I'm just going to add a bit of this highlighter. Mix it in, just a little bit goes a long way. I'm going to mix it together on the back of my hand, and then I'm just going to go in, and it's going to add a really nice sheen to the skin without doing too much. And I like this because I personally appreciate a satin bronzer. I don't always want to have a matte bronzer, especially if I'm wearing a glowy blush. I think having a bronzer that has more of a satin finish is going to look more cohesive, and this highlighter actually does a really good job at adding, like you can see on my forehead, the way that the light hits it, you can see the sheen that it adds to the skin, but it's not too much, and I think that just looks so pretty. I'm going to put a little bit extra on the forehead. I do like to add a little bit more. So this deeper highlighter shade mixed in with the bronzer, it actually looks very beautiful as a highlighter, but as a bronzer topper, absolutely. And I've seen people going in with this deeper shade straight out of the pan without any bronzer on, using it as a bronzer, and I don't think that's the best way to use it, just because it doesn't have too much of a base. So apply your cream bronzer and your matte powder bronzer first and use this as a topper if it's going to go with your skin tone, obviously, but as a topper or mixed in with the bronzer, it looks absolutely stunning. It gives some dimension to the face, keeps it from looking flat. Really, really beautiful. So my overall thoughts on this palette is absolutely yes. There were so many mixed reviews on this palette. When I was looking at the reviews on Sephora as well as the website, was mentally prepared to return this palette if I had to, or just do an exchange for something else at Sephora. But I'm going to keep it because I can work with all of these shades. It's a great value. Like I said, I think when I did the math, it was like $14.16 per pan. Really good deal. Is this palette for everybody? Absolutely not. I was almost done with this video. I was so close. So who is this palette for? Because this palette is not for everybody. This palette, I'm gonna say, is for the full glam girlies. Not necessarily only the full glam girlies, but the highlighters, yeah, they're for the full glam girlies. They're very blinding. The pink one is very chunky. You either like that type of formula or you don't. You either like glitter on your face or you don't. A lot of people prefer a highlighter that's very finely milded, very smooth. These are not those kind of highlighters. These are going out in the club, wherever you're going, Instagram makeup like me. That's who it's for. So I'm gonna keep it because I can definitely see myself using this palette, getting great use out of it. In my opinion, the palette is only worth it if you've been wanting to try YSL's blush and highlighter formula and you haven't already. If you have their blushes already, it's not necessarily worth it. There are better highlighter formulas. Like, if we're keeping it 100, there's definitely better highlighter formulas, and if you have the YSL blushes already, more than likely you have highlighters too that you can already use. So it just depends on what's in your collection already. What are you looking for in a face palette? But I would definitely recommend it. That is it for my review on the YSL Golden Oasis face palette. If you made it to the end of this video, thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and until next time,